Wina's story began far from the bright lights of Los Angeles, in a humble fishing village in the Philippines where life was simple but hard. Her family lived in a small wooden house by the shore, its walls weathered by salt and storms. Her father spent long nights at sea, braving dangerous waves to catch fish that barely kept food on the table. Her mother, with weary hands and tired eyes, stitched clothes by candlelight to earn a few extra pesos. Yet, despite the struggles, their home was never without music. From the time she was little, Wina would sing to the ocean. Her voice, though young and fragile, carried hope across the waves. She sang not just for herself, but to comfort her parents after long, exhausting days. Neighbors often paused to listen, whispering that her gift was something extraordinary, a light too bright for their small town. But dreams were heavy for a girl with no money and no connections. Many told her to be realistic, to focus on survival, not fantasy. Still, Wina believed. She believed her voice had the power to reach beyond borders, to tell her family's story to the world. So when the chance came to audition for America's Got Talent, she saw it as more than an opportunity, it was destiny. Standing backstage, thousands of miles from home, her hands trembled. She wasn't afraid of failure. She was carrying the weight of her parents' sacrifices and the hopes of every dreamer who had ever been told, "You can't." As Wina stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, the spotlight felt blinding. The vast theater stretched before her, filled with strangers, cameras, and the watchful eyes of the judges. Simon sat at the center, arms folded, his expression unreadable. The audience murmured softly, wondering what this quiet girl from the Philippines could possibly bring to such a grand stage. Her heart raced, but she remembered her mother's words whispered before she boarded the plane, "Sing with your heart, and the world will listen." Taking a deep breath, she closed her eyes as the first notes of the music began to play. The moment she opened her mouth, the room shifted. Her voice was gentle at first, trembling like a bird finding its wings, but within seconds it soared, clear, powerful, and full of emotion. It wasn't just a song, it was her soul laid bare, every word carrying the weight of her journey. Simon's brow softened. Sophia leaned forward in awe. Heidi pressed her hand against her heart. And Howie, usually quick with jokes, sat in stunned silence. The audience leaned in, captivated, some wiping tears before the chorus even arrived. Wina's voice filled the theater with something raw and universal, the pain of struggle, the beauty of resilience, the hope that no matter where you come from, your voice matters. She wasn't just singing, she was sharing her truth. And in that moment, every person in the room felt connected to her story. As the song carried into its most emotional part, Wina's voice wavered. For a split second, it cracked, and the entire theater seemed to hold its breath. The lights above felt hotter, the silence sharper. Her chest tightened as doubts rushed in. What if I fail? What if I let them down? Backstage, her mother clasped her hands together, whispering prayers through trembling lips. But then, Wina remembered the nights she sang against the roar of storms, her voice competing with crashing waves while her father struggled at sea. She remembered the tired smile of her mother, who often skipped meals so Wina could eat. And in that moment, she realized, her song wasn't about perfection. It was about truth. She closed her eyes, placed a hand over her heart, and let every ounce of love, sacrifice, and hope pour out of her. The crack in her voice became strength, the tremble became power. Her song transformed, soaring higher than before, raw and unshakably real. The audience erupted mid-performance, cheering through tears, urging her on. Some stood to their feet, clapping in rhythm, while others simply cried, overwhelmed by the purity of what they were witnessing. Even Simon leaned forward, eyes glistening, whispering something only his microphone caught, extraordinary. By the time Wina reached the final chorus, it was no longer a performance, it was a prayer, a promise, a gift. The girl who nearly broke down had instead risen, stronger than anyone imagined, when the final note of Wina's song faded into silence, the theater felt suspended in time. For a few precious seconds, no one moved, no one breathed. It was as if the entire world was stunned by what they had just witnessed. Then, all at once, the audience exploded in cheers and applause, rising to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Tears streamed down faces everywhere, from strangers in the crowd to Wina's own mother backstage, clutching her chest as though her heart might burst. On the judges' panel, Heidi wiped her eyes, Sophia clapped through tears, and Howie shook his head in disbelief, mouthing, "Unreal." But it was Simon, usually so guarded and critical, who leaned into his microphone. His voice cracked as he spoke. That wasn't just singing. That was life itself. That was hope. And then, without hesitation, he slammed his hand down on the golden buzzer. In an instant, the theater transformed. Golden confetti burst from above, shimmering like sunlight pouring down from heaven. Wina gasped, her hands flying to her mouth as her knees buckled. Overcome with emotion, she fell to the stage floor, sobbing, as the golden rain swirled around her. Her mother rushed out from backstage, hugging her tightly. Together, they stood in the shower of confetti, bathed in the sound of thousands cheering. This was more than a victory. It was a miracle, proof that a girl from a humble fishing village could bring the entire world to tears. As the golden confetti continued to fall, Wina slowly rose to her feet, still holding her mother's trembling hand. Her face was wet with tears, but her smile radiated a light brighter than the stage itself. The judges and audience were still on their feet, clapping, cheering, some crying openly, as though they had all been part of something much bigger than a performance. When the applause softened, Wina lifted the microphone again. Her voice shook, not from nerves, but from the weight of gratitude. "This moment," she said softly, "is not just mine. It belongs to every child who sings in the dark when no one is listening. It belongs to my parents, who gave everything so I could stand here. And it belongs to everyone who still believes that even the smallest voice can be heard if it comes from the heart." The crowd erupted once more, moved not only by her talent but by her humility. Simon stood, wiping his eyes, and gave her a nod of deep respect, a gesture rarely seen. Sophia pressed her hand over her heart, whispering, "Beautiful." Backstage, producers and crew exchanged glances, knowing this was a moment that would live in AGT history. At home, millions of viewers felt something stir inside them: hope, love, belief in humanity. As Wina and her mother embraced beneath the falling gold, the message was clear: dreams are never too small, and hearts, when brave enough to sing, can touch the entire world.